Hello, my name is Tony Pagliocco, and I'm running for National President of Omega Delta Phi. This is episode 10 in the campaign video series, and the purpose of these videos is to, one, answer questions from brothers regarding my campaign platform, and two, it gives me an opportunity to talk about challenges that we're facing as a national fraternity and how we can work together to try and solve these problems. Now, tonight we have two questions, both of them from Kyle Thomas. Kyle's first question is asking about the location of nationals and other types of conferences. He understands that nationals is held in Lubbock every 5 years, but he's also concerned that we don't have a system in place to try and geographically have a better system in place, so that way one area isn't always getting screwed over by having to drive long distances or have to go out of their way and pay exorbitant fees. So I'm going to touch on that first. And Kyle's question was framed a little differently. I just sort of paraphrased it because reading it verbatim didn't really work out because it was a private message on Facebook. So to expand on Kyle's question, though, is that in my current position at Wizards of the Coast, we have an organized play division for the game Magic the Gathering. And if you don't know what Magic the Gathering is, the best way I like to explain it is sort of like adult Pokemon or chess and poker combined into one game. And we have a pro tour, which is very similar to the PGA Tour. You have to qualify someplace regionally, and then you get to go to an invite-only tournament someplace else. And usually you're competing for $30,000, $40,000 in prize cash. So when we plan those events, we try and have a system set up where we can appeal to everyone in the player base. We're trying to make 2 million players happy, and when you're dealing with a volume of that size, you're not going to make everyone happy all the time. But there is a way to put systems into place for us to be able to use this same model for the fraternity. And so a lot of the times we don't know the location of a lot of conferences or even some of the national conventions. And it's because sometimes we're just, sometimes the board is trying to figure out where the best place to hold is. They're looking for locations. I think that we have an opportunity to be able to implement a system very similar to what we do at my current job. And we identify a number of locations that are geographically sound, which doesn't target one area specifically to always have to go out of their way to get to an event. Part of the beauty of this brotherhood is being able to spend time with brothers not from your chapter. It's to network, it's to socialize, it's to be able to see that brother you haven't seen in 6 months or a year and catch up and go out and have a good time and grow up from each other. And if we were to compare this and I was to come up with an idea to a rough framework idea, so to speak, is that we would pick our areas based off of regions so that each region would have the opportunity to be able to attend a conference without having to pay an arm and a leg. But we have to also be fair and not just break it off into region, because Texas in itself has a number of regions within Texas. So we would look at Southwest, we would look at Texas, we would look at Midwest, we would look at Northwest, and with the ever-expanding East Coast presence we're getting, we could look at the East Coast and then the central Midwest, like Chicago area. So right there, you have about 6-7 areas right there where you could pick one city in each area. And that way, there's no confusion. It's a simple solution where we just say, look, here's where the next 6 nationals are going to be, and you can plan for them ahead of time. We're not in the event planning business. We're a brotherhood. And while we could possibly improve the way that we run nationals from a cost perspective, I wouldn't be able to speak to that because I haven't put one on. And I know that they're complicated, and I know that they're complex, and there's a whole lot of moving parts going on at the same time. That being said, by just laying out a simple schedule roadmap to be able to be look, here's where we're going to be over the next even 3 years, it allows us to be able to appeal to brothers from many regions and not just focus it on one area. So that in a nutshell is how I would sort of tackle the the question Kyle presented. I feel that there's merit in it because we want our brothers to be able to attend conventions. We want them to be able to socialize and meet and see the true passion that fuels our brotherhood, that fuels when we get back to our campuses and we have to go do service, we have to study, we have to, represent as the Knights of Omega Delta Phi. You get that by engaging with other brothers. Now, Kyle's second question, I'm going to pull it up so I can read it here at the same time because this was a little bit longer. A little bit more apt for me to read from. Kyle says, what would you as president think is appropriate for a chapter or colony who gets in trouble for hazing? How do you handle that? This is a great question because I come from a different, I would say I come from a different time of Omega Delta Phi. I pledged in fall 96. And there is no place for hazing in our fraternity. Simple. There's no place for hazing, and we are a brotherhood. We are built upon the sacraments of unity, honesty, integrity, and leadership. If we're hazing, we're not being good leaders. We're not showing integrity. In fact, and then if we lie about it, we're not being honest either. And so this is something that's important from us from a national perspective because right now, organizations are getting busted left and right for hazing. The one thing you don't want to see is you don't want to have to see your national board at your campus because a problem came up related to hazing. The reason why is because there's so many negative things that come with that. Your chapter can get suspended. You have a black mark on your national organization. You run the risk of having your not only getting suspended at the chapter level, but possibly being put out altogether. I think that one thing we need to look at is we need to start attending some of the more national fraternal and sorority hazing prevention conferences. Right now in this year, there is the Novak Institute for Hazing Prevention, which is in Memphis, June 3rd to the 6th. I don't know of us going to that. But you know what? I think we should because there are many resources out there to prevent hazing and to educate. And that's actually the most important part is that when we're talking about a chapter or colony that gets in trouble for hazing, I sort of have this one thing is that one, we should be doing our own investigations of it. We should not be just relying on the school to do it. This is family business. We handle our business. We investigate our own. We'll find out what happened and we'll make the appropriate decisions based off those findings. Now, if the school or the university wants to do their own sanctions or their own investigations, it's within their right and they should do it. However, I think it's a case-by-case basis in some instances because in some cases, it could be due to lack of education. It could be lack of communication from the national board telling them what they can and can't do. If there's that open line of communication between the nationals and the chapters, there should be ways to go up the line and say, hey, we were going to plan this thing. Do you think it's okay? And at least get that little bit of validation from the national side to make sure that you're covering your bases because there's nothing wrong with covering your bases. However, I feel strongly that you have to take a stand and you have to be firm on certain things. And I feel that hazing is one of them. So I wouldn't go as far to say that, everyone gets a free pass and then, the next time you're going to get suspended. That's not true. I don't think that's legitimate. I think the most important part is that we need to focus on educating our members not to haze in the first place, educating our members on how to communicate and feel comfortable communicating with nationals about certain instances or circumstances that may be questionable. And then, if something does happen, we need to take the lead on our own and investigate and find out what happened and make the appropriate actions after that. Now, using other organizations as examples, sometimes the investigations bring forth a whole bunch of different things. Sometimes the punishments are harder for certain cases. Sometimes they're lighter for other cases. It's a case-by-case basis. But that being said, There is no place for hazing in Omega Delta Phi. We've come from 1987 to today. Our goal is to continuously improve. Our goal is to grow as a brotherhood, not only within ourselves as brothers, but on a national level. We need to make sure that we're doing things the right way. So, thank you very much, Kyle, for those questions. I really enjoyed answering them. For the rest of you, thank you for taking the time to watch this video tonight. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, if you would like me to attend a chapter meeting via Skype, if you have questions that you want answered in these videos, you can go to my website, tonyp2015.com. Once again, thank you for watching, and have a great night.